Hello and welcome to the fifth in the LSBU Climate Emergency Series. We're delighted to see so many friends here, old and new, and still joining. What we all have in common is we're motivated to come together today to take time out of our busy schedules, share our concerns about driving large-scale change across the built environment, to jointly try and understand what decarbonising means and to make it happen. So today is really interesting. We're going to look at embodied carbon. Buildings are the mark of human civilization. Mankind's been building things and adapting nature to create habitat ever since we stopped slinging spears at animals and started our symbiotic nature with agriculture and farming. We've reshaped our entire planet to meet our own needs. The recently published Vision for the Built Environment, a cross-sector initiative between 75 industry leaders and 35 diverse sector bodies from across the UK, made a quite staggering statement. The total mass of the built environment exceeds that of all living things on Earth. Humans have done a lot. The spread of that built environment shows no sign of slowing down. We'll hear from Simon next in his opening address about the phenomenal rate of projected growth, something akin to adding a major city, the usual European city, to the planet every week. So in order to construct, we are going to dig, mine hundreds of millions of tons of raw materials that we essentially steal from the planet, if I may quote another member of our panel, David Cheshire. In his keynote speech, When Buildings Give Back, David will explain how when we use carbon-intensive fossil fuels and precious water and energy to process these materials, the carbon cost is horrendous, as is the impact on biodiversity. If that isn't depressing enough, when these buildings are no longer deemed useful, we knock them down at a phenomenal rate, often after a staggeringly short lifespan. And because we design this process with little regard for the Earth's limits, we have little to no system in place to manage replacement, deconstruction, disposal, and end-of-life management of the materials and systems that made up the assets we're destroying. I am sure I'm speaking to the converted when I say we can't go on like this. The imperative to act on embodied carbon has never been greater. As a nation, we're falling over ourselves to ramp up construction and hit ambitious new build targets to answer the clarion call to retrofit the leaky housing stock of our nation. But without radical change right through the supply chain, we aren't going to build back better. We're on track to add to our carbon footprint rather than reduce it. So breaking our nation's carbon dependency is the greatest challenge of our generation. Whether we're talking about decommissioning the gas grid, switching to smart energy, retrofitting stock, adapting our building methods to mitigate embodied carbon, building a circular economy to create cradle-to-cradle supply chain, the challenges we face are systemic and interdependent. So we cannot work in silos. We cannot build our way out of the problem. We're going to need to work together. And whilst we're not individually to blame, we can take individual responsibility to drive change. Within our professional lives and within our organisations, we can use our power of persuasion, our imaginations, our budgets, our bargaining power, and our collective drive for good. So much is already happening. Let's take Letty. Their design guide with its splendid primer on embodied carbon is put together by a band of passionate professional volunteers. In the first year alone, that guide was downloaded 30,000 times across 120 countries. That's power for you. We have a lot of architects listening today. The Architects Climate Action Network, ACAN, are another force to be reckoned with. Passionate professionals who are driving radical transformation, pushing for regeneration, pushing for a circular economy, pushing for embodied carbon to be included in the future home standards. Again, there's passion and power, and it makes a difference. There's also another common thread. It's about sharing knowledge. Which brings me on to another great initiative, the Climate Framework. The climate framework is a transdisciplinary, holistic framework that's building the critical knowledge base that every environmental professional will need in the years ahead. The climate framework unites industry and academia, as well as organisations such as LETI, the RIBA and CIBSE and many others. The goal is to upskill and build our collective capacity to address the silos and build a sector-wide understanding of the urgent and interconnected challenges that lie ahead of us. LSBU is proud to support the climate framework and contribute to that body of work, both in our research and through this climate emergency debate series. This brings people together like yourselves to share knowledge, your passion, your ideas, so that we all become better informed, better advocates, better organisers and better agents for change. For change we must. Thanks to the passion in this sector, of these people in this sector, momentum around embodied carbon is building. We read in the news this week, it's at least on the radar of national government. And we'll hear from the UK GBC how local government can play a part, leveraging their climate emergency plans to address embodied carbon in their own boroughs. The sudden unfolding of a global pandemic has proved we can, as humans, make radical, swift change when under pressure. Every one of us has a part to play, and we must work together with the same collective ambition for net zero carbon to be delivered at scale. We have a packed schedule, and this event will be the first of several addressing the big issues around embodied carbon and the circular economy.